I think, good morning. This is the best view we have of the windmill so far. And it's the third day in a row we're watching the windmill. So we're standing kitty corner across the Gehenna Valley. We mentioned the stadium a couple of times. That's here in the Gehenna Valley. And then we have that pillar of peace, and this is the third day we're mentioning that. And let me zero in on it for you. So now it's in full view. Here we have that bridge crossing the road that we walked over 2 days ago. And there's that pillar of peace, the Isaiah line, that the swords be turned into plowshares. I think it's chapter 2, verse 4. And then yesterday we walked down into the Gehenna Valley, just a little bit further to the east and south from the corner down here where you see the traffic intersection, the traffic light. So we're standing at the corner at the southwestern corner of the old city. I made reference in the last article I wrote for the journal, the October article, about needing more friendship than argument in our encounters with others. And the reference to the Jerusalem University College, it's down this street another 150 yards. Today we're going to walk up this way. Here we see the Tower of St. Saviour's over on the northwest corner of the city, more or less, and Notre Dame is over there. I don't see, we can't see it with the other buildings in between. And here we see the Jaffa Gate is also over here. Yes, you can see the tower of the David Citadel at the Jaffa Gate. Herodian period foundations in that building, parts visible still today. And then here we have the corner, the wall corner of the Armenian Quarter, the old wall. So I have a question for you. Oops, I didn't notice this. I need to keep an eye on the ground as well. Here you see all this rock, and I'm not sure how much of this is all rock. Yeah, it's all rock, worked stone work. And the question is, why would people build such an impregnable wall? It's a lot of work. And when this was built, I think this wall, like mentioned before on other occasions, was built when the Emperor Charles V threatened a crusade against Jerusalem a little less than 500 years ago, and the Ottomans fortified Jerusalem against that potential assault. And there you can see where defenders inside can attack people trying to breach the wall. On the outside, and you have a tower, a defensive strategy. And what would you need to defend? Well, the life of the inhabitants. And even here, these walls, it's not a city, actually it's a graveyard in here. And also the Franciscan graveyard is here. There are a number of Christian graveyards here on Mount Zion. Maybe the camera can catch some of it here through this opening. And maybe the camera can look in through this little It's not a keyhole, but it's a possible point to look in. So here we have another point of defense where those inside can assault those outside. Now we're coming up to the Mount Zion gate, which actually also bears marks of the battles of 1948 and maybe 1967 also. So this is an entrance to the Armenians convent here, and we can also see the Dormition Abbey, which is right beside the Last Supper room. And you can actually see that tower that we see from Notre Dame every morning when we're on the rooftop. Let me see if I can get it for you on the camera here. I'm not doing too well with the focus. Yeah, there we have it over the one on the right. It's not coming in too well for me. We'll see it again down below. Yes, that's it there. And there's another one to the west of it. And that's also where the memorial of David's tomb is, the cenotaph, the empty tomb of David, the Crusader type monument. Many built for the sun is up a bit higher for us today since I stopped to explain that back there. And here we have the Zion Gate. With all the pockmarks from the conflict. So now I was thinking to go down along the this end of the wall here, facing toward the east, south. Maybe we can take another wider loop here. Morning. Morning. So there we get a look again at the Dormition Church hiding in there. The Dormition Abbey, the Last Supper room. And now we are seeing the sun well up in the sky. And I think we're going to go down this way here for the sake of catching up where we were yesterday. I don't think you have often come down here. I'd normally be trying to have a spot where you'd always see the sun. Lots of memorials of different people who have sponsored things here. I presume there's a little dove house here. Do a little flight for us there, lady. And now here we see that tower again of the Dormition Monastery, very high. Different study centers here of Judaism. We're on Mount Zion, it's obviously a cherished name. Although actually this nomenclature came about because of the upper room, the Easter experience, the Last Supper, this was in the earlier remembrance of the Holocaust, but there's a huge Holocaust museum in further outside on the west side of the city, King David's tomb. So that it was named because of the Last Supper, the resurrection, appearance, Pentecost. So it was the new Mount Zion from the Christian perspective. In Byzantine times, the temple had been destroyed, and that would have been the original Mount Zion, where God dwelt in his holy temple. So the language of the Psalms would have where the site of the present-day Temple Mount is. But since the memory here then became known all over the world as Mount Zion, then obviously the Jewish people attached to that. We know that David was buried on the eastern hill, the Bible says, over on the side of the Mount of Olives, really. Maybe we'll get to see a glimpse of that today. And here we were yesterday, just down below this cemetery here. This is the Christian cemetery on Mount Zion, or maybe even specifically the Catholic cemetery, because there's another Anglican one, more or less in the area where we came by, and also a Greek one. So this gateway here has the Sabal Khair. Okay. And you wrote, I want to do the gate of the, yes. Yeah, no problem. Fish muskuli. Sabal Khair. So this is Oscar Schindler's grave. And we were on the other side of that cemetery yesterday. So now you know a little bit more of the area. And here we can see the tower of Mount Zion of the Benedictine monastery, the abbey. And then down here we have the Gehenna Valley also wrapping around. And we were down below in the depth of this green area yesterday in our sunrise stroll and chat. So now we're heading here. You can see the Hurva synagogue in the distance. This big dome that we also see from Notre Dame. Just in the early morning, walking around Jerusalem, different angles, different places. Many of you would like to be here, and that's not possible in the circumstances, for all kinds of different circumstances. Some people write notes and say they will never be able to come for various reasons, and so they are participating gladly in these little strolls and chats. So today we have very stark readings, very strong readings, a lot of digestion needed, a good digestion needed. They're expressions of great faith, of a spiritual understanding, a faith understanding of life biblically, and in the Old and New Testaments. So this is St. Peter in Gallicantu, and that's the memory of Peter's denial of Jesus and the trial of Jesus before the Sanhedrin, the high priest's house. This is another way up to the Zion gate, and we again see the walls. And the readings today speak about defending great treasure, defending our soul, the grace in our soul, the friendship with God. And it's alerting us that there's a battle going on. And we see battles, unfortunately, going on in the world in our time, but we can also take lessons how people seek alliances. If they're small, they line up with bigger powers. And in that sense, then, it's a very sad phenomenon that a lot of the conflicts on the earth between certain interests and circumscribed circumstances, locations, can become world conflicts because of the alignment of different alliances against each other. And we human beings don't do things alone. We are needing everybody around us. If you name 3 or 4 of the most well-known, richest people in the world, you think they can do anything, but they don't make toilet paper. They didn't invent the wheel, which comes from generations back, millennia back. They are dependent on so many services that everybody provides. We were probably never as much linked and allied in history as we are today. Just imagine the possibility of being in communication right now, and we're dependent on these little cell phones. We're dependent on those who maintain the internet. We're dependent on satellites out in space that are keeping us connected. And these are all alliances. And there's a compensation in alliances. There's a fee to be paid for a telephone use, for a telephone line. And so we're deeply connected, and this is also true in the spiritual realm. And the difficulties we have to deal with a surge of anger, a surge of laziness, a surge of hatred, a surge of envy. That's not just an act of willpower for me. And that's the point of the first reading, that people are tempted. We see that starts in the very beginning in Genesis. There are forces that are beyond, that are wily, that are super intelligent, more than AI. And that's the spiritual life, to recognize these alliances. And that's the great comfort of our faith, and comfort meaning strength. The word comfort isn't cozy, cuddly. You have fort, come fort. And fort is from fortiter, fortitude. Strength. Comfort is a strengthening that gives us confidence, that takes away our fear. So it's possible to, you see how a flower is like a sunrise? And your smile also. And so mom and dad come into the room when the child has a bad dream, and they are comforted because the strength of the parents are there, and now no matter what dragging they saw in their dream, they can handle it. And that's how we need to deal with the spiritual life. The vocabulary today is very interesting in that way. Let me just pull it up for you here if I can. Bear with me a second. Even the Psalm, you know, Psalm 144, blessed be the Lord my rock. The ground can be very weak, and I can be sinking in mud or in sand. And blessed be the Lord my rock. The strength of the rock gives me comfort. I'm with strength. Blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for battle. Maybe the original meaning of the words were for physical battle, but it's, at the end of the day, it's a spiritual battle. Imagine a surge of hatred that could come into us when we're in a conflict with somebody. And instead of becoming destructive, my spirit is filled with compassion and mercy, and I don't do damage. I don't say that bad word. I don't deliver that insult. And the gospel is also speaking about driving out demons. And I need to get to that first reading. So it says, put on the armor of God. Build up a wall, a fortress, impregnable, unassailable. They might assail it, but it will stand against the enemy. I am not afraid, even though I go through a dark valley. The dark valley of distrust, of bitterness, of rancor, of revenge. Sometimes parents have to deal with a very rebellious child. Their nerves might be brought to their limit. They might be at their wits figuring out, how can we deal with this? And maybe an angry word could be spoken, but then the parents, as they grow in virtue, learn to discipline without anger, without hurtful anger, without destructive anger, respecting the other person. What an education for children to see their parents. The child has a conscience and knows there's something really wrong. The child was badly behaved, but to see that the parents are self-disciplined, self-controlled. What an amazing education for children to learn how to deal with each other. Some nice olive tree here. So we're looking down again over East Jerusalem. We were in a different spot yesterday, further up the Gehenna Valley. In fact, right down here is where the Gehenna Valley comes into the Kidron Valley. Right down there, in this little intersection. And the Kidron Valley comes around this side of the Mount of Olives that we're seeing over there, separating the Mount of Olives from the Temple Mount. I think we've gone over time today, so let's leave it like that. And we'll do ourselves a moment. We're here outside the Dung Gate. Maybe I'll go inside for the Instagram post in a moment. So there you have the Dung Gate right behind my hat there. See two Jewish people coming out, two Orthodox Jews. So, God bless you. See you later, alligators. And don't neglect the great defenses you need for the holiness of your soul, the integrity of your person, and also the formation of children. And everybody working with us at the office, friends, neighbors, dealing with the neighbor that's been unjust or unfair, to deal with nobility, to protect our soul in days of evil, in days of harshness, in days of violence. People, God bless you. See you later, alligators.